Hello, friendly foes. Okay, so I had a request for our next craft video to do some aging, which is like my favorite thing ever because it's so easy. You're gonna love this. Okay, so I've got here, the main thing you need is just black paint, and this is just cheap acrylic. But if you want to get fancy, you can also use brown. And then if you want to get super fancy, bright orange. I know this looks ridiculous, but it's gonna look great, trust me. This is almost fluorescent. It's so bright. That's gonna be for rest later on. So what I have here is, this is a Fallout helmet bank that I bought for John for Christmas. You can still see it's still got the label on it. I think this was like 15 bucks on eBay or Amazon, one of those. You can see it's actually a bank. But it's a super cool sculpt, right, for the helmet. But the paint job's not great. I mean, it's okay. You can see it's got a little bit of brown aging on it, but we're gonna make it look a little better. So I've got some paint here. This is just, again, the black acrylic. And this is a bowl of water. I like using a bowl versus a cup better because you can just access it better. And also, this is a t-shirt rag. Sometimes I like to just dip the rag in, and again, a bowl's a lot easier for that. Okay, so you can use straight black paint, but it's easier to water it down just a little bit. So to control it, I kind of just use the brush and just dump some water in there and mix it around. There is no set way to this. You're just gonna have to figure out which way you like better, like as far as the consistency goes. You can see it's it's just thinning it down a little bit. If you get it too thin, keep in mind it's gonna dry super fast. So the thicker it is, the more open time you're gonna have for wiping it off, okay? So here comes the magic. Just gonna take, again, goop it up on your brush here. And let's start over on the edge just to be safe. And you're just gonna paint it all in. And you wanna get in every nook and cranny. Really squish it in there. And you can see it's going like solid black. This is not that thinned out. Now you can stop wherever. I don't like to do a whole lot at a time. You want to be able to, again, you're going to be wiping this off. So grab your t-shirt rag and just start going to town. Now you can see this isn't taking, it's already starting to dry. So don't panic, in large friendly letters. Just dip some water and that's going to take it all the way down. So again, this is kind of just getting a feel for it, of how much paint to put on, how much to wipe off. It's all how much you, what you think looks good. You see how that's coming up there? And there's gonna be a lot of nooks and crannies depending on what you're using. Like you could be doing this on a pop figure. It's great for anything plastic. You won't be able to get into all the nooks and crannies, but that's good because it's gonna look that much better. It's gonna give you a better contrast. Okay. So I think I'm just gonna keep working on this, and then John will probably use his magic video editing and speed it all up so that this will take like 30 seconds. In reality, it'll probably take about 5 or 10 minutes. Oh, you want me to show the other side? John's telling me to show the other side. Okay, so that's, and that, see how those lines are really popping? And honestly, I think this needs more aging. So the beauty of this too is that once you do a first pass and let it all dry, you can do it again. You can do it as many times as you like. But we're gonna start with just the black, and then like I said, we might go in with some brown, some rust, stuff like that. Okay, I'm ready for more paint. So let's do another section. Let's do this top here. See how much better that looks? I love this patina right here. Like I'm gonna wipe it a little bit more, but so just to get rid of the streakiness, but it makes it look so much more metallic. I think it's just really pretty. And again, look at that. See that line right there? Look how much better it looks on top. It's gorgeous. After a while, your rag's gonna get so saturated with paint that you can even kind of extend it. See, because it's this smooth plastic. So you can even just start rubbing it down like that. Are you bringing the cat? It's a floating space cat.
We were told we need more cats in our videos.
Hi, Dealy. Oh my gosh. That's what you get here on the Epbot Craft channel. You get floating space cats. It's funny, with the last one we had such a hard time keeping the cats out of the screen, like off the table and out of the way, and then we put it up and everyone was like, where's the cats? We need cats. I'm like, believe me, you will get cats. If you're working on something super small, like a pop figure, which are really great for aging, just get a Q-tip. Q-tips are fabulous for getting into all these little nooks and crannies. Again, if you even want to, because I kind of like it with a lot of paint all in there. Look at that. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. And again, if you start to get lap lines is a fancy name for this overlap right here. Just dip a little water and kind of go over it and just circular motions and, you know, just keep messing with it till you like it. That's a good thing about acrylic too, is since it's going to reactivate at least a little with more water, you can really just keep playing with it. If you don't like it, you could almost just wipe it all off and start over. And I mentioned Funko Pops a couple of times. Those really are, so many Funko Pops look so much better with just a little aging. Any kind of video game character, anything with metal, obviously. Even like a Walking Dead character who would be a little grungy on screen. Any of those, Ninja Turtles, they all look great. Just a little bit of aging. John brought over, hang on, take a break, how bad are my hands? This, you guys might remember, this is my Big Daddy Funko Pop. And he started out pretty clean, and so this is all my own aging, my own rust. Remember I told you this bright orange looks insane, but that's what this stuff is. I wonder how well that can show up on camera. But you can see under his tank there, see all this dusky rust spots? That's all. Oh, and there's a cat. Excellent. Bonking the camera. Again, this is the level of professionalism. So anyway, yeah, so this is all aging, but this one I used a lot more tricks, which I'm going to talk about afterwards, of using some patina in blue, some rub and buff, a little blood, because you got to have a little blood on Bioshock. But anyway, that's an example of a Funko Pop. Let's get back to this guy. And actually, I'm starting with just the black rub off here because I want you guys to see, like when I show you that Big Daddy, you're like, okay, John, but you spent like 2 hours and 16 colors of paint. I want you guys to see what you can get away with just like 20 minutes and just solid black and how much better it can look. It's interesting actually, when you're crafting, one of my favorite little tricks is to have my phone on hand and take pictures just so that I can see what it looks like on camera, because you would be surprised how much different something looks. Even me just looking in the video here, it looks a little different than it does in real life. And I feel like the camera is a little truer, and so I like to go by that versus just what my eye can see. So that's a good little trick. If you ever get stuck on a craft project, whip out your phone and take a picture and it will tell you what you need to fix. Okay, so this rubber hose, if you guys play Fallout, then you know, again, this is a great sculpt. And this hose is actually the right color, it's just not dirty enough. So we're gonna fix that. You can see this is a little different paint, it's beading up. Usually if your paint beads up while you're doing this, it means you've got a little too much water in it and you want to thicken it up. I don't know if that's the case right now or if they just have an extra clear coat on this, we'll find out. Don't worry, it still works. So that's the the aged one, and then you can see here's the clean one. See how flat this looks? There's just no dimension to it. This makes it look more real.
Cat break.
Let's take a break for another floating cat. Hi, baby.
Hey, look at the camera.
Well, they're just seeing her ruff now. It's because she's looking at me. Hi, baby. Oh, look at those blue eyes. Look at this prettiness. You know, they can't say we didn't try to give them what they asked for. More cats. Did more cats. Cats in Fallout. It's a match made in heaven.
It's very difficult, but.
Oh no, here comes Tonks. Watch out.
Okay.
Ah! That's fabulous. Hi,
Alright.
Tonks. She looks really pleased.
19 pounds of cat.
Actually, Tonks is like the most tolerant cat ever. And sneezy as well. Alright. Now you will find at some point that even though this is acrylic and even though water reactivates it, it sticks to plastic amazingly well, at least this kind of soft plastic. So there does come a point where you can't wipe it off. Like again right there, you can see I just wiped and there's still some stuff happening. So if that's the case, just put some more paint on it. And cover it up that way. Like I said, that's the beauty of the stuff. You can add lots of layers, just keep going until you like the look. But I hope you can see, I think I've covered everything at least once now. It's still a little wet, so it's a little shiny. But I hope you guys can see just how much better this looks. And obviously, I'm not giving this my full attention because I'm talking and there are floating cats everywhere. But this made such a difference, just that, in, again, like 10 minutes of work. And just black paint. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to let this dry a bit, and then I'm going to plus it up some more. I'm going to paint out these guys, and then I'm going to accent some of these tubes with some metallics. So if you guys have any rub and buff or something, I'm going to cut and come back and show you some of that, just to show you that if you want to give it another 10 minutes or so, you can add those extra little cherries on top. So that's just going to take, because of these deep cracks, it's going to take another, 10 minutes to dry, or, I might get impatient and grab a hairdryer. And then we'll do a little more. See you in a minute. Okay, we are back with phase 2 of the aging. So, of course, it's only been a second for you, but I've just spent a couple minutes with the hairdryer drying this guy up. So again, this is just a solid black paint wash on that. So now what we're going to do is add some rust, and we're going to add some metallic accents. Plus I'm going to paint those eyes out. Okay, so what I've got over here for the rust is, again, that bright orange, which again, almost fluorescent, and a little bit of brown, although sometimes you only need the orange. And I've got a smaller brush because you're only going to do, just little tiny spots with it. Still need to have a rag, a t-shirt rag, to wipe that off in the water. And so all we're going to do is listen to the cat sneeze. That was good. I always go with too much brown on this. Hang on. Let me wipe that off. It needs to be mostly orange. I know it's going to freak you out because it's freaking me out a little bit. And then the fun part is just finding places where to put the rust. Because it's going to be you want to think about how rust would happen, naturally, say it was rained on or whatever. So it's going to be usually at the bottom of little jut out bits like this. And you're going to want, sorry, it doesn't show too great, but you're going to want to just dab it on so that you don't get brush marks on it. Just dab. And this is not watered down, this paint. This is full strength because you don't want it to be too translucent. As you can see, it's already pretty translucent as it is, which is part of that's what sells the illusion. And then you just want to, again, don't wipe so much as just press with your t-shirt rag. Let's see if I can find a better spot. Let's say you want some rust on the top of the helmet, like maybe on this edge. So again, like edges are great. Just take advantage of the sculpt wherever you want, and it can kind of come out. And then you're just going to dab it off with your t-shirt rag. And because you're using craft paint, it's again very translucent. So you're gonna have to build it up. You can see there's just barely like a yellow layer right there. So you'll let that dry a little bit and then add some more. And again, edges are great places for adding rust because that's where water would kind of naturally accumulate, down at the bottom here. And you can also have a couple of rust spots that are not on edges or anything, just kind of dab like that. Because every now and then you will get just spots of rust on big flat plain surfaces. So that's always fun. And then if you want to get really crazy with it, you can do whole lines down, almost like a drip line, and bring that down. And once again, the reason why you want to use really cheap craft paint, dries fast and it dries completely flat, which is perfect for rust. If there are any kind of, see how there's like a rivet or a screw head detail here? Those are great areas for rust. You can do it in a circle all the way around or just on one edge, but it also helps accent those little screw heads and draw attention to them. And then later on, we're going to go back and put some rub and buff on the top of the screw head to give it a little pop of metal. In fact, a good rule of thumb is anywhere that your black paint that you painted for the aging, anywhere that pool where it was really hard to get out again, that's a good spot for rust. And you can see like this spot here looks very bright. It's gonna dry a little less intense, so don't get too freaked out. I'm sure I'm gonna add more, but I'm gonna stop right now because I want to get onto the rub and buff, and also I really want to paint out these eyes. They're driving me nuts. They look too shiny. Okay, so to paint out the eyes, I'm just gonna use solid black. And again, this stuff sticks surprisingly well to the plastic. I don't think I mentioned earlier, I did wash the helmet before I started any of this. I just got a little soapy water on a paper towel. And that's not strictly necessary, but sometimes there are oils left over on the plastic. So just to be extra safe, it's nice to give it a once over with some soap. Now, I don't have to be too perfect with this because I'm going to age up the edges. Yeah, see how much better that looks? You don't have that fake shine. Because, I mean, the helmets don't have mirrors for eyes, so it just makes more sense to have got them blackened out. So let's go on, let's do a little rub and buff. If you guys haven't experimented with rub and buff, you're in for a treat. This stuff's so fun. Okay, so I have both gold and silver. You don't have to use both, I just happen to have both. Let's start with the silver, because I feel like sometimes that gives it a little more impact. This is great for anything metallic. And again, if you've never used it before, this is a metallic wax. Oh, and look, it's all bubbly. Hang on. Clean that tip a little bit. You're going to want to use Q-tips for it usually, or a t-shirt rag also is great. Either way. And it requires very little of this stuff. You're just going to load up a little bit on a Q-tip. Because a little of this goes a very long way. And this, unlike the paint, you can't just wipe off if you don't like it. So test this somewhere inconspicuous first, and then again, you could always add more, but you can't take it off, so be careful with that.
You can't mask tell them, but that's true.
Well, that's true, okay. You can take it off, but it'd be a real pain. Alright, so I'm gonna actually bring it over here on the bottom side just to show you guys at first. And this is what you wanna do with silver rub and buff, again, for anything metallic, is you just wanna hit the edges. And see how that almost looks like white paint? It's so brilliant going on there. That's why you wanna use it very, very sparingly. While it's still wet, you can rub it just a tiny bit with a t-shirt rag, but again, it's really not going to take much off. That's why you want to get it right the first time. So practice somewhere not too visible. Let me get that out of your way. on your thing first. And actually, sometimes what I do, again, I've loaded up this Q-tip. Just rub some off. Because again, you can always add more. And again, we're going to start practicing on the bottom here. And then what you want to do is, again, just sort of a light pass. And that's going to make like make it look like the metal is peeking through, which is super cool. Okay, so I think we're ready to do this somewhere actual. So where you want to do this, unlike the rest where you want to go in all the nooks and crannies, this is for everything popped out and what's the right word? Raised. Anything raised. So again, like this edge here. So we're going to take this just slightly. Yeah, it's hard to kind of think about the concept behind why we're doing this. But like John is saying, it's because the paint would have been rubbed off as this helmet was knocked around in battle and whatnot. Then this would all come off. So you see that lovely shiny right there? Ooh, that's nice. Now you don't want to do, again, the whole thing because that would look artificial. Trying to make this look like it's naturally destroyed. So you just want to hit just a little, just boop, like that. Corners are fantastic for this. Watch this. This is so cool. Boom, 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 boom. Look at that. It's awesome. And you don't have to just do edges. You can also, obviously there are going to be scratches and gouges in this all over the place. It's a little more hair raising, but yeah, what you can do is just, again, just very lightly. This is starting to dry on my Q-tip, which is perfect. So it's a little harder to come off. But see that little shine spot? You can do stuff like that. I don't want to add it too much. Let's do one right there. Just like a scuff, like somebody scuffed through the metal. So again, this is super fun. You're just going to go around anything that's raised, here and there. Just bop it. I think I'm going to go back with gold on this one, so I'm going to leave that alone for right now. But I'll go around it. John tells me this is actually a light. What I would like to do at some point is carve that out with a Dremel and put an LED in there. I think that'd be fun. Again, my little Energizer bunny of a Q-tip here is still going. It is starting to get a little dried up, and as it dries up, that's a great time to do like these big areas because it's going to come across a little more soft. So you kind of really have to rub at it, which is good because that'll make it look a little more realistic. I know I'm taking a lot of time with this, but honestly, guys, this is just super fun. This is one of the few crafts where I'm not in a hurry to be done with it because it's just the process is super fun. Okay, so here we are with the gold rim buff and another Q-tip. And just kind of twirl it in. I'm making a mess. Excellent. That. And again, you want to take the excess off. Just twirl around. This stuff's a little drier than my silver, so it's a little more crumbly. But because it is a wax, it's still going to go on pretty much fine. Okay, so I'm gonna try and do this tube right here. See how it goes. So what I've done here is, this is a mostly dried up silver leaf on my Q-tip, and I just rubbed it very lightly over the flat black on the eyes, and you can see it did give it a little bit of a sheen while aging it at the same time. So I think that might be enough. John seems to like it this way, so that might be enough where I won't need to add a clear coat on it. That it looks enough like glass.
Yeah,
That's just sort of, you know, got some dust on it. Cool. Okay, so this is the mostly finished product. Again, you can see that's the gold rub and buff there. There's a little gold on there. And then all these little shiny bits, that's all silver. And other than that, it's just black paint. That is all we used, folks. And look how cool this is. I'm gonna put up pictures, or John will put up pictures at the end here of the beauty shots showing the before and after. But if you've, you know, managed to slog through this whole thing, then you know we started out with a very plain plastic thing, and this looks, I think, hugely better, and again, for very little effort. So hope this answered some questions. Hope you guys had some fun, and go out and age all your plastic toys now, because look how fun it is.